So DPR is aware, in spite of government's best efforts, Petroleum Equalization Fund and what have you, that in some parts of this country, even when it was at 97 naira, some people did not get to buy at that rate. Would they also be putting that into consideration? We had a guest here yesterday who said that in the southeast, after you've crossed Asaba, you hardly get petrol at 97 naira. And so for those people, 87 naira might not really be a realistic price.
I think one of the things we as citizens need to understand is that as citizens we become stakeholders in the industry, in the sense that we need to actually inform and give the system a chance to work. When people complain, the DPR, the NERC, the NNPC, they have public channels of feedback. It is incumbent upon them to actually channel those complaints to those offices. And when there is no response, then we can say the system is not working. Because today, if you speak to the spokesperson in DPR, they will tell you that as far as they are aware, they have regular checks on most of these filling stations, and these filling stations maintain these prices. Now, it is possible that some of the independent marketers have shady attitudes, which means that when they think or suspect that DPR is likely to come, they adjust the price. Then at other times, they don't do that. So if the citizenry also recognize themselves as stakeholders within what should happen, then they should channel the complaints to the right quarters so that appropriate actions can be taken and penalties can be meted where necessary.
You know, how transparent would you say the government has been on this particular matter? Because Chamberlain asked you if we have or we're tilting towards a deregulated petroleum sector industry. You would agree that 2 months ago, the prices of petroleum products in the United States dropped drastically to the extent that those who were putting what form of grade in their cars got a significant reduction, and ours is just coming so late.
In the US, fuel prices is solely and fully on the forces of demand and supply. In the same US, they've bought gasoline at $5 per gallon in the past.
For which of the grades?
I don't know.
Not regular.
I don't know which, but I know and it's not definitely for there to have been complaints at that time. It must have been the regular ones.
No, not the regular.
I need to check all that. What I don't know, I will see. But the point is this: there are times when they've had very, very significant prices, and almost as soon as it happens, you also have their prices drop. I am sure that we don't want that here. We don't want a situation where you wake up today, petrol is costing 30 naira, and then you wake up tomorrow, it is costing 150 naira. 150 naira is still less than $1.
You know that the prices don't just happen. I mean, they happen gradually. They don't just shoot up overnight. But even be that as it may, here we are. You know, I asked you if that decision was wise, and I think that Sulaiman's question about the transparency of government is also pertinent, because people are asking. I mean, this announcement was made, and in less than 24 hours, most of the filling stations that our correspondents went to have complied. A lot of them had complied. The question is, was it that they had made some profits in the past at 97 naira, and so they quickly ensured compliance with this new rate of 87 naira so they don't get into trouble? Do you also think that that could be an issue? Because at what point really did government realize that we really could reduce this price and maybe subsidize it by 2 naira or 3 naira?
I think from the very beginning, the issue was the time frame between when they realized, initiated the systems to come up with the appropriate price, and when they announced to the public. Because simply because we're not hearing of activities does not mean nothing is going on.
But the question is, shouldn't we hear? Because that's all part of transparency. At what point did government realize that this thing could actually come down?
You know, let's put it this way. You're running a company. Let's just look at the basic. You're running a company, and you maintain an open door policy, like Bill Gates does and all that. It is not possible for every decision you make on your employees that they will be aware of all the process. It's just part of leadership. There are certain things that in the overall interest of progress that you shield it for a while. Yes, it is incumbent on those who are inquisitive, those who are engaged in investigative journalism, to want to find out the details that are happening. But and that is where the Freedom of Information Bill covers them. But it's just normal that the process of decision making, especially when they can be controversial, needs to be covered.
But there are those who have also suggested that regulation and the question of transparency, there's a big question mark about those. They ask, do you know of any government depot that has dispensed kerosene, for instance, in the last 5 months?
I believe that the one in Ibadan, as well as 1 or 2 in Lagos, yes, as far as I'm aware.
Okay, I have marketers who are telling us that that is not the case, because they say, Kero Direct, for instance, that NNPC was supposed to give those products to government depot, but what they do is divert it to the private ones, who then sell it as a larger cost and put the whole system.
I don't think NNPC itself as an organization will direct it to private ones. What you have is that certain independent marketers, and which has been what has happened over the years, who get their option, choose not to open their filling station, and then direct it to other people. We need to first of all realize that this is.
Did you study that environment to actually know that that's what happens?
Yes.
The question will be why? If you're not diverting petrol, why are they diverting kerosene?
That is something I cannot answer at this time.
Because he says here that government depots are supposed to dispense DPK at 40 naira 20 kobo. But that's the NNPC, diverts the product to private depots, who then sell to them at over 65 naira. And they in turn,
but when you look at the price differential in terms of the markup on it is much significant for kerosene than it is for PMS. I mean, that's obvious economics. But the fact is this: we have unscrupulous people among us. They remain people that are part of us. We also owe it responsibilities to ourselves, to the community, to our culture, and to our progress, to try and fish out the people and to make them responsible. It is not just enough for a marketer to say that there are people who are diverting kerosene or diverting PMS. They should mention people so that actual justice can be carried out. We can't be speaking in vacuum and speaking in the air.
For instance, Ejigbo has not dispensed for a long time. I mean, this is there for everyone to say, and they say, look, that is the case. I mean, they even go as far back as 5 years.
That's strange. I mean, I'm not aware of the details of the activities in Ejigbo, but I will find out and get to the appropriate.
Isn't that something we really can do to fix all of this anomalies and all of this talk? Because we're an oil-producing nation, and we presently head OPEC. And if Saudi Arabia can actually, determine some of the things in the industry as to oil prices, why haven't we been able till this very moment at least fix just one of the refineries, so that we'll stop taking this crude out and bringing them in, leaving a lot outside there? The United States, you compared prices with Nigeria. Is not an oil-producing nation in that regard, though they have their own oil in the heart of Texas and Midland, but still they have not reached the $5 mark for any of their grades, even though the prediction came in 2012 and it never got to that rate. So why is it, as an industry watcher, we still haven't been able to fix what we should fix and get ourselves out of this mess of taking this out and bringing them in and really have a deregulated oil sector?
Well, first of all, the U.S. is not oil exporting, they are oil producing.
That's why I mentioned some couple of
states.
Now,
in terms of the refineries, in 2011, the government, through NNPC, initiated discussions with the original refinery builders, the ORBs, and for the three different refineries, and they were engaged with the perspective of doing overall turnaround maintenance on the three refineries. After negotiations or after initial contact, they refused to engage on the project. and they referred the government to certain sister companies who were also vendors. The government engaged in discussions with them, and these discussions lasted about 2 years. At the end of the day, the people who were referred to refused to, they gave very unfavorable conditions in terms of cost because they were sole contractors. But more importantly, they refused to give certain guarantees, such as the guarantees of performance after the turnaround maintenance had been done. As a result of which, the contracts could not proceed. One of the things that happened there was the need to do an internal introspection to actually look for a way to solve the problem. And we came up with the solution of having local people doing the things. As of today, turnaround maintenance has started in Port Harcourt, and the processes are starting in Bode and Kaduna using local people, engineers, both retired and serving, within the NNPC to ensure that. One of the things that has done is to ensure that we as a people have been able to look at our strengths and broken barriers and glass ceilings, which hitherto were thought impossible. I understand that as of today, 60% of the materials required for the turnaround maintenance in Warri as well as Kaduna are available, and any time from now, those processes will start. So we expect in about 18 months to 24 months, the refineries will start in Port Harcourt, which actually has the largest.
Sounds familiar. I've heard that. I'm sure you've heard this story before, that in 24 months, in 18 months, and.
Yes, but I'm not giving a prediction based on a political promise. I'm giving a prediction based on actual engineering work that is taking place.
Okay, comment on this as well. If we really wanted to build refineries in this country,
yes,
since 2011, if we started at that time,
yes,
would we not have one, at least one, by now?
No, not necessarily. The process of building.
How many years does it take to build a refinery?
It depends. I mean, you could have what you call modular refineries, which are refineries that had already been built. But one of the challenges of modular refineries, which are not properly mentioned, is that they don't actually do the whole hog, and a lot of things are actually wasted. Most modular refineries, the small-scale refineries that you see, end up being things that can produce one product, maximum two. Maybe they produce kerosene, or they produce PMS.
How many years will it take?
Once they commission to site, between 18 to 24 months.
So, from 2011 till now, we won't have a refinery?
But the process is, there's a lot of wastage that goes with it.
Wastage?
Yes, in terms of the product. Like I said, you see, when you have crude oil, you have about 12 to 14 products that can come that will be useful to it, from plastics to pharmaceutical to methane gas to butane gas to kerosene and all that. Once that is done, I'm sure there is a whole army of people that will accuse the government of not thinking, accuse them of wastage.
That's an indictment on the government, because they don't even bring these derivatives that you just mentioned. I'm happy you mentioned them.
Yes,
when we take it out, we don't bring them back in.
Yes, because we don't have the refinery. But when the refineries are working, like all the things that are used for cellophane paper bag, plastic chairs, they were being sold out in Kaduna.
All right, Bode Sowunmi, thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you.
We'll be back and focus on other matters as well today on the program. Please join us again.